I've saved my clients thousands in taxes, and this is the biggest change to personal tax reporting in over 20 years. If you get this wrong, it could leave you thousands of pounds out of pocket and have you so stressed wondering if you'll ever be able to submit your own returns ever again. So in this video, I'll go through exactly what's changing, what can go wrong for you, and how to stay on the right side of HMRC without getting yourself fined. What's worse than having to do a tax return every year? Doing 5. And that's exactly what's coming. From 2026, over 1 million taxpayers will have to file tax returns 5 times a year. But most people still think it's just once. So let's break it down. MTD stands for Making Tax Digital. It's HMRC's long-term plan to move everyone from doing one big tax return a year to a fully digital quarterly reporting system. So it's basically their way of saying that they don't trust spreadsheets anymore and they want the data in real time throughout the year. From April 2026, MDT for income tax will become mandatory for self-employed people and landlords with gross income over £30,000. That's the money that you've earned before your expenses are taken off. So that means if you're a sole trader or rental income earner pulling in more than 30 grand a year, this isn't something that's coming in eventually for you. It's on the calendar and it's creeping closer than most people realize. As part of it, you'll need to use MTD compatible software, which I'll talk about more later, submit quarterly updates to HMRC, and then submit a final declaration at the end of the year. So you're going from one big tax return to 5 smaller ones. But each one has deadlines, rules, and penalties if you miss them. That's not all the changes that they've got planned though, because HMRC has hinted that once the system's sorted for those earning 30k and above, they plan to lower the threshold and expect those earning between £10,000 and £30,000 to be brought in sometime after 2027. Then, eventually, even partnerships and limited companies will be included. So this isn't just a sole trader and landlord issue, it's the beginning of a much bigger shift on how income is reported for everyone in the UK. If you're used to paying your accountant just once a year, then this might come as a bit of a shock to you, because 5 submissions means more admin, more software, and more support. So yeah, the fees are going to go up. And that's not them being greedy, it's HMRC forcing them into a corner. But here's what's not changing. The actual deadline for the end of year return and the way that you pay your tax bill are exactly the same. You'll still pay once a year on the 31st of January, just like before. It's the reporting that's changing and becoming a whole lot more demanding. So what happens if you miss one of the 5 new tax deadlines involved with MTD for income tax? And what else can go wrong? You've probably filed your taxes the same way for years. Log into the HMRC website, fill in the self-assessment, click submit, and then it's done. But that system is going away. And if you don't adapt, you could get fined, rejected, or flagged by HMRC system without even realizing. Let's look at what can actually go wrong. If you don't use HMRC approved software, your quarterly updates might not count at all, even if the numbers are correct. And that means you're technically non-compliant, you'll miss the deadline and then trigger automatic late penalties. And if you keep doing it wrong, you'll face interest charges and maybe even legal action. It's like writing out the perfect essay, posting it to the examiner, but your exams are online. Because there's now 5 returns instead of 1, that means that there are now 5 deadlines per year, which means you're 5 times more likely to miss a deadline, and each one carries the risk of getting fined. But it actually does get worse, because HMRC is moving to a points-based penalty system, which is similar to your driving license. Every late submission adds up, even if it is just by a few days. You get 1 point per missed deadline, and then once you hit the limit, you get fined £200. Then, if you keep missing the deadline, it's £200 per penalty, even if the data is eventually submitted. And these points reset slowly, so once you're in the system, it takes a bit of time to get out. MTD also requires you to keep your records up to date and digitally linked into your submissions. So that means no more year-end guesswork, no more backdating receipts, and no more dumping everything into Excel and hoping for the best. If your numbers look suspicious, HMRC might investigate you. And under MTD, they'll have so much more data to look back at and then scrutinize. So every mistake is more visible more often. Think of it like walking into a job interview with your shirt untucked and coffee down your tie. You might get away with it once a year, but not every quarter. How would you like to avoid £200 penalties and never deal with spreadsheets ever again? Well, if you're worried about getting yourself fined for the new MTD rules coming into place, then all you need to do is not ignore the following advice. MTD isn't really about more tax, it's about more structure, which sounds annoying until you realize that structure actually makes your life way easier. If you want to stay on the right side of HMRC and avoid getting yourself a fine, then you only need to know the following things. First, you need to understand what is going into each submission. Each quarterly update will have details of your income and then your allowable expenses. There won't be any tax calculations or tax to pay just yet, as this all comes at the end of the year. Then, just like your self-assessment now, your final declaration includes things like tax adjustments, such as capital allowances, use of home and your mileage, details of all of your personal income, so dividends, interest, and any other income you've got. It includes details of reliefs and tax planning, so pension contributions and gift aid donations. If you get any of this wrong, then HMRC's system can flag them as errors, and that can land you with a fine. HMRC now requires your records to be kept in compatible software and linked into the submission. So that means no more copy and pasting from Excel into the HMRC website. I'd recommend heading over to their website to view a full list of all of the approved software. Then you can play around with some of them and choose one which suits your budget and your own needs. Most providers offer beginner-friendly features like receipt scanning with your phone, along with real-time income and expense tracking. You can also get software that links into your bank account, which will record your income and expenses throughout the periods. Then, when you're ready to submit the returns, it's almost automatic. You'll just have to review the transactions, click submit, and then you're done. But if you don't have a separate business bank account, then this can be messy. So you need to start building good habits now of logging your income and your expenses on a monthly basis. Think of it like brushing your teeth. Doing it little and often is so much more effective than having months off and then brushing them for a few hours. Small habits will make your life so much easier. Even simple things like setting a reminder for the submission deadline can save you getting a fine. You wouldn't miss your rent or your mortgage payment, so you need to treat this exactly the same. Don't treat MTD as just something that I'll do next year. Start making these small habits right now. But if you'd rather not think about tagging expenses or double checking submissions each quarter, then you can hand the whole thing off to an accountant. So if you want peace of mind, someone to keep you compliant, and have zero stress from receiving HMRC letters, then this is one of the easiest ways to take it off your plate entirely. And good accountants, they'll set you up with the right software, automate most of it for you, and remind you before any deadlines even hit your radar. I'll leave a link in the description box below of a good accountant that I know. So as an accountant that's going to be dealing with this more than anyone else, what's my opinion on it? Well, no one likes change, and that's probably the biggest issue. It's definitely going to be really messy at first as everyone gets used to it, including HMRC. And going from 1 return to 5 returns definitely isn't ideal. But I do believe that moving over to accounting software is going to make everyone's life 100 times easier for multiple reasons. As long as you build good habits now and get into a routine of the submissions, you should be fine. Now you know how to survive HMRC's biggest update in over 20 years. But all of this information on how to avoid fines is actually completely useless because you're probably overpaying on your tax bill without even realizing it. So watch this video right here if you want to pay less tax than you ever have before.